This a big up, this one's for Greg. Straight from the rain and every Chilean well. Him a reggae lover, the real Dan Dada. Pinny this champ and the bike race.
A Day at Trust Class. Day 3. Author Bard Justis. Chapter 19. Day 3. Navigating Complexities and Opportunities in Express Trusts. The class had a buzz of anticipation on this final day. Miss Hamilton stood ready to bring together all the elements they'd discussed about express trusts. Today would focus on advanced topics addressing complexities and opportunities for growth within these unique trusts. Good morning, everyone, Miss Hamilton began. We've covered the basics of express trusts, their structure, administration, and protections. Today we'll explore some more complex areas, including tax considerations, opportunities for growth, and the trust's role in commerce. Our goal is to see how express trusts can be a powerful tool for preserving and growing assets. Jamie raised her hand. So today we're learning about how the trust can actually make money. Exactly, Jamie, Miss Hamilton smiled. But we're also going to talk about how to handle complex issues that come up when a trust generates income. Let's start with tax obligations and growth opportunities. Chapter 20. Tax Considerations and Trust Compliance. Let's talk about taxes, Miss Hamilton said. While an express trust enjoys certain protections, it doesn't mean it's exempt from all tax responsibilities. Footnote 1 in the WEISS'S Handbook explains that although the trust itself may operate independently of government oversight, it's still subject to taxes on income derived from certain sources, like corporate stock and physical franchises. Rachel looked surprised. So the trust isn't completely tax-free? Right, Miss Hamilton replied. The trust is generally exempt from many regulations, but it still pays taxes on specific income sources. Footnote 14 clarifies that express trusts avoid much of the government oversight applied to corporations, but are liable for income tax on earnings from business operations. This keeps the trust compliant and helps maintain its private status. Also, she added, trustees must file taxes transparently. They must keep accurate financial records of all income and expenses to show that they're fulfilling tax obligations. Weiss explains that accurate record-keeping, as we saw in footnote 33, keeps the trust transparent and in good standing with tax laws. Chapter 21. Growth and Investment Opportunities. Let's talk about ways an express trust can grow its assets, Miss Hamilton continued, noting the student's curiosity. Weiss highlights in footnote 37 that express trusts can invest in a wide range of assets, from real estate and stocks to more creative income-generating ventures. The trust's flexibility under common law allows trustees to explore investment options without the limitations faced by corporations. Tom raised his hand. Does this mean trustees can invest in anything? Almost, Miss Hamilton replied. Trustees have a wide latitude to invest, but they must follow the declaration of trust and the duty of care. Footnote 20 reminds us that the trust instrument can specify certain limits or preferred types of investments, which ensures that the investments align with the trust's purpose and the beneficiary's needs. She continued, trustees also have the power to reinvest trust earnings, which is another way to grow assets. For example, income generated by renting out a property could be reinvested in other properties or financial assets, creating a sustainable growth cycle for the beneficiaries. Chapter 22. Certificates and Issuing Beneficial Interests. Miss Hamilton moved to a topic she knew would intrigue the class. We briefly mentioned certificates of beneficial interest on day 2, but now let's look at how these can be used to expand the trust's reach. Weiss points out in footnote 34 that certificates allow the trust to divide property interests into shares almost like stocks. This lets the trust distribute income and benefits more flexibly. Alex raised his hand. So these certificates are like private stocks? Yes, Alex, Miss Hamilton nodded. These certificates represent a stake in the trust's benefits, not in its ownership. This way, the trust remains private and free from corporate regulations. Footnote 34 emphasizes that these certificates are private and don't require government registration, which keeps the trust's internal structure independent. She added, certificates can also be a tool for expanding the trust. If new beneficiaries are added, the trust can issue new certificates, creating additional divisions of beneficial interest without changing the trust structure. This flexibility is one reason express trusts have become so versatile in modern finance. Chapter 23: The Role of an Express Trust in Commerce. Let's shift gears and talk about how express trusts operate within the commercial system, Miss Hamilton continued. Express trusts are unique because they're governed by the general law merchant rather than statutory law. Footnote 1 explains that this allows the trust to participate in commerce freely, using contracts instead of corporate licenses. Jamie looked curious. Does this mean the trust can run a business? It can under certain conditions, Miss Hamilton replied. Since the trust is governed by common law, it can engage in commercial transactions, issue bonds, and even conduct business without needing a corporate license, as long as it doesn't violate the trust's purpose. Weiss explains in footnote 6 that this business flexibility allows the trust to function in ways similar to a corporation, while maintaining its private and protected status. She continued, for example, a trust could own rental properties, invest in companies, or even manage a small business, all while remaining outside corporate jurisdiction. This is possible because the trust's actions are guided by private contracts, which the courts respect under common law. It's a powerful position, giving trustees extensive freedom to act on behalf of beneficiaries. Chapter 24: Jurisdictional Protections and Trust Privacy. One of the biggest advantages of an express trust is its privacy, Miss Hamilton explained. When the trust is set up in a common law jurisdiction, its operations are protected from statutory oversight. Footnote 8 emphasizes that an express trust benefits from privacy by operating independently of state regulations. Rachel raised her hand. Does this mean it's protected from lawsuits? Not exactly, Miss Hamilton replied. The trust can still be sued, but its assets are better protected. Since the trust's jurisdiction is rooted in common law, the courts handle it as a private contract matter, which can sometimes prevent frivolous lawsuits. Additionally, as long as the trustee keeps the trust private and separate from personal finances, it's much harder for external parties to interfere. She added, jurisdictional protections also help the trust maintain in rem jurisdiction, which we discussed yesterday. This means that as long as the trust assets remain in the trustee's possession and control, they're shielded from unauthorized claims. Chapter 25: When and How a Trust Ends. Miss Hamilton looked around the room, noting the focused expressions. Finally, let's talk about the end of a trust. Every trust must have a termination point, whether it's after a specific period or upon reaching a certain goal. Footnote 62 outlines different reasons a trust might end, such as the sale of trust assets, the death of beneficiaries, or a defined term in the declaration of trust. Alex raised his hand. So the trust can't last forever? Correct, Alex. Miss Hamilton nodded. While some trusts can be structured to last for multiple generations, most express trusts have a specific end point. Once the trust's purpose is fulfilled, the assets are distributed to the beneficiaries. Footnote 62 explains that when the trust is dissolved, the trustee must file a final report, distribute remaining assets, and close the trust formally. Miss Hamilton added, this final distribution of assets is known as the trust's wind-up process. The trustee ensures that all obligations are met and any remaining property or funds are given to the beneficiaries. It's a solemn but essential step to conclude the trust properly. Chapter 26: Final Questions and Reflections. Miss Hamilton sensed the students had questions brewing, so she opened the floor for final thoughts. Jamie was the first to speak. Miss Hamilton, I didn't realize a trust could be so powerful. It's like a private company, but with even more control. Miss Hamilton nodded. Exactly, Jamie. The Express Trust offers control, privacy, and flexibility that's hard to find elsewhere. WEISS'S Handbook shows us that with proper setup and administration, Express Trusts can protect assets, provide for beneficiaries, and even support commercial activities, all within a private, independent structure. Tom raised his hand. And as long as the trustee follows the declaration of trust, everything should work as planned. Precisely, Tom. The declaration of trust is the guiding document that ensures the trust's integrity. It keeps the trust aligned with its original purpose, protects beneficiaries' rights, and prevents external interference. As Weiss states throughout the book, every decision, action, and investment should be based on the declaration. Chapter 27. Wrapping up. The power of an express trust. Miss Hamilton smiled as she looked at her students. We've spent the last few days diving deep into express trusts. You've learned about their unique structure, the freedoms and responsibilities of trustees, the protections offered by common law, and the possibilities for growth. As WEISS'S Concise Trustee Handbook has shown us, express trusts are an extraordinary legal tool that individuals can use to protect and grow their assets. Rachel raised her hand one last time. So, could we set one up ourselves?
Miss Hamilton smiled warmly. With proper guidance, you absolutely could. Remember, an express trust is built on the principle of natural rights. By following common law and setting it up responsibly, anyone can create a trust that's secure, private, and full of potential.
As the bell rang, the students packed up, each carrying a copy of WEISS'S Concise Trustee Handbook. Miss Hamilton knew they were leaving with more than just a set of legal principles. They had gained an understanding of a powerful tool for independence, privacy, and security, a lesson they would carry with them as they ventured into the future.
The devil has to play by the rules. You have to make a choice or be used like a tool. The devil has to play by the rules. Your choice in the matter determines wise from fool. The rules of the game are already set forth. And don't you get frustrated and don't you get wroth. And don't let the devil throw you off your course. He's there to be the tempter. Choose Jah at every cost. The Lord is your guide and He is your force. When the devil tries to get you in a doubtful discourse. And don't try to be wiser than the only life source. Jah created all things, so the devil's just a horse. The devil has to play by the rules. You have to make a choice or be used like a tool. The devil has to play by